Hi guys! So today's Monday, November the 10th, and I wanted to talk to you about the tarot card of the day, which is Two of Cups. Now, if you remember, two is an emotional card. Usually it has to do with relationships, stuff like that. My cat. So if you think about the number two, that's two people. So it's a partnership. Now, if you look at these cups, they're equal. You see them? One's not higher than the other. One's not lower than the other. They're completely equal. So this is an equal partnership, okay? The important thing about this card is that it's not often that we find a mirror of ourselves. And this card is definitely about a mirror of ourselves. It's kind of like sometimes in a relationship, we have to wear a mask for that person. We feel like we have to be a certain way and we have to try to make them happy, change some of our ways, and it's a big feeling of always trying to, I don't know, become somebody else almost. And every once in a while there is a person in our life who we meet and we don't have to wear a mask at all. Like, we can be completely honest with that person. I'm talking about telling them the truth, even stuff that's painful or ugly, and it's almost like they understand. There's an understanding. They don't look down on you. They don't look like, you're just need so much work, What I think about this card that's very interesting is I was telling Rico earlier that I was talking about my past, and I was telling him, about just talking a little bit about drinking and this sober journey. I was talking to my good friend Steve earlier about, our shared journey. And I think that, it's very easy to feel like we're just a mess. I remember when I was probably about 20 or 21, and I had been, I guess, in therapy since maybe 7th grade, I want to say. I was a young teen, just barely, out of the preteen years, maybe 12 even. And I started with therapy. My parents were just very proactive because they had divorce and they were young parents and they needed a lot of help. So I was really blessed that they wanted that help for me. I stayed with the same therapist for years. So I went through a lot of stuff. Horrible things happened to me. I have shared with many of you that when I was 18, I was taken from a gas station and kidnapped, brutally beaten and raped. And that was extremely hard. I was not able to come out, I guess, for a couple of years. And I was in therapy with her at the same time. And I also had a situation where my boyfriend at the time shot himself in front of us, me, and some of his close friends. And that was very traumatic. There was a whole bunch of trauma happening in my life at the same time. And this therapist was with me and working with me intensely. I would see her twice a week. And, I got through a lot. But I do remember something particular. I remember as a young girl asking her, when am I going to be healed? And she looked at me and she's like, what do you mean? And I said, when will I feel better? I said, is it like, I wanted to hear like if it was when I'm 27, when I'm 30, when I'm 35, is I'm going to be all the way till like I'm 50. That's like really old. I remember thinking this, and I wanted to know when, like, or is it after a certain like amount of like therapy? And I told her, I said, when am I going to be okay from all the trauma? When am I going to, and she goes, what do you mean okay? I said, when am I going to not have to work so hard? When am I going to get a break and not have to work on me? And I wanted to know that answer so bad. I wanted that golden age. And she looked at me and she's like, never. You are never going to stop working on yourself. And I was like, what? I was like me sitting here talking about issues and everything that's happening in my life, like, this is forever? And she said, yes. She goes, it is forever. She goes, especially if you're the kind of person that wants to better yourself and always improve. You are always going to be a work in progress. Well, sometimes I hear people say that they're working on themselves, and that's forever. There's never going to be a time where they're going to be done. There's never going to be a time that it's going to be the moment that it's like, cha-ching, I'm healed. It doesn't work that way. And the interesting thing about the Two of Cups is that what really matters is the people that we have by our side. I think that is so important because we have to have the kind of people who see us, not put on a mask for us, not try to charm us with manipulation, not try to tell us lies of how things are going to change in the future, promises that can't be fulfilled. I think it's really important that you can be with somebody who is your equal and who is just as honest as you on what they can give you right now and what they can't give you. And the future stuff doesn't matter. I mean, it does, believe me, but it doesn't matter now because people can promise you the world and not be able to deliver. So this Two of Cups card is, who is it? Who is that person that you can completely be yourself with? They're your best friend. You can completely fall apart to them. And they're going to sit there and they're going to love you. They're going to wait for you. I'm not saying that you have to be an enabler. I'm not saying that. Because there comes a point in time where if somebody promises you something that they can't deliver, if years go on and they still haven't given it to you, that's on you. That's on you for putting up with somebody who's giving you a false promise. There has to be a point where you say, hey, enough is enough. You know, like my aunt told me one time, Michelle, is shit or get off the pot. I was like shocked when she told me that, because I was talking about how I was going to do something for years, but I hadn't done it yet. You know, it's like I can listen to you saying you're going to do something over and over and hear in your voice how much you mean it. But if you can't deliver it, it's never going to happen. I think that a lot of people do not have their partner that is equal like this with the Two of Cups. And that means that they don't understand other people who are working with that person. They don't get it. Do you know how many people settle? Do you know how many people just, this is us. This is it. I'm not really in love with you, but we built a good life together. I don't want to lose what I have. You don't want to lose what you have. I'm going to just stay here. But they don't have that deep, passionate friendship, love, equality. That's really important. It's really important that you feel like you can be who you are, including all the ugliness that you're working on. And that person's going to be right there with you waiting. I'm not saying they're going to put up with abuse. I'm not saying they're going to put up with stuff that they don't want to put up with, because that's not fair to them. But they can see you working. They can see you trying. And they can see you bettering yourself every single day a little bit more. And you can see that in them. I know one thing. If you don't grow together, that's off balance. One person can't level up and the other person stay where you were before. You have to level up together. You do something, I do something. That's really important. Now, it's very easy for the Two of Cups to get reversed. It wasn't reversed today, because I'm not talking about it being reversed, but I do have to say that when you get hurt by somebody who's an equal, somebody who they just made a big mistake and you hurt each other, both of you, there comes this disrespect that you go through, this hurt, these hurdles that can never take you back to where you were before. It's just the truth. You can't go back. The thing is that when it gets reversed, it's because of your fear. Your fear that we will never get back. I will never have what I had before. And it's true. You can't, especially with the dynamic of things changing. The thing is that you can have something even better. You can. With improved people who have grown and who've worked on themselves, especially when they do it together, how can that not be better? Don't ever think because somebody who was your equal, somebody who was your partner, don't ever think because they hurt you that that's just what it's going to be about. Now, we do hurt each other. There's no way around it. I mean, the most important people in my life are my kids, and I hurt them. I don't mean to, but I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I learn from them. And like I tell my daughter, both of them, I tell them, I may make that mistake and I'm going to try really hard to fix it. And I may make it again, but it's very rare that I make it 3 times. I try not to because I don't want to hurt the people I love and I don't want to be that kind of person. But the plain truth is that we are human beings and we make big mistakes and we have to live with the consequences. Sometimes they're really big, sometimes they really change our lives. But what can we do? We can decide if we love that person enough and that person means enough to us in our life to make it worth it. Or we can decide it's not worth it. But I do have to say that there is nobody in this world, not one person, who can make that decision for you. They may think that they know everything. They may think that they have the right to tell you. But they're not living your path. Their mission has nothing to do with your mission. So, they have no right. They really don't. Your path is your path, and you have to protect that. You have to protect yourself first and foremost, which means you do what's right for you and nobody else. The colors in this card is a lot about truth and compassion. Compassion it's everything. It's everything in a balanced relationship, It's when you have enough feelings and emotions that you can feel and understand what they're feeling and care. That means that if somebody hurts me, I have the compassion to understand the pain of why they did it and understand where they were. And, they say that past history does predict future history. And the reason that that's true is because people will react the same way in the future. So if they did something under stress, they'll most likely do it under stress again, because that's what their behavior is about. It doesn't necessarily mean it's always true, though. For instance, somebody who's cheated. Somebody cheated in their relationship. Then they realized they had to work on getting that trust back. And forever, they did everything in their power to show that they were trustworthy. But in that other person's mind was that fear that it could happen again. And this person, the one who did it, is just, I need to prove that that is not who I am, that that was a mistake, that I can be trustworthy. They have a long time sometimes to feel like they can't be trusted. And sometimes, maybe it takes years, maybe it takes months. They feel like they can't be trusted, even though everything they do in their power is to show you that they can be. But they don't get that crown because they messed up. Once that person realizes that they feel trust, sometimes they don't want to lose it. Nothing's worth it. Nothing is worth going back to where they were before. That's a lesson learned. I'm not saying everybody learns that lesson, but there's people that do. And there's people that realize that it wasn't worth it at all. They hurt somebody who they loved completely, their equal, their other half, and they hurt them in the worst possible way over somebody irrelevant. That's when a lot of compassion comes in. I guess what I wanted to do with this card is end it with this. Every single person you meet, I'm talking about every connection. Every connection is a mirror of yourself. You decide the reflection you want to see. You decide who belongs in your life. You decide who earned their place. You decide who you can trust. You decide who's worth it. And nobody can tell you that but you. Be true to yourself. Be honest with yourself. Or you'll never get that equality. I love the Two of Cups. It's a dream. And it's a work. Forever.